Hey everybody, and welcome back to some more Oxygen Not Included. We're back with the Impenetrable Gang. It's cycle 398, rapidly approaching cycle 400, and in the last episode we were working on this setup over here, turning our cool steam from our cool steam vent into hot steam, and then turning that hot steam into water for our electrolyzer to use. And between episodes, quite a few cycles have passed, and I'm happy to report that the system seems to be working just fine. I've not made any changes to this setup between episodes. It's just continued to run and continued to produce water, which is fantastic. That's exactly what it is intended to do. And so real quick, the first thing that I need to address in today's episode is our power plant down here, because right at the end of the last episode, just as soon as I stopped recording, I got a notification that one of my duplicates was scalding, and when I clicked on the notification, it pulled me down to this room right here, because as you can see, the carbon dioxide next to this natural gas generator is currently at a scalding hot 98 degrees Celsius, and our good old friend Bird was just standing here trying to tune up the generator, trying to maybe repair it as well, because I think the generator itself was getting damaged because of just how hot it is. And so temporarily I have gone ahead and locked off this door here. When I say temporarily, it's probably going to be permanent, because what I've done between episodes is I've gone ahead and tried to clean up this area over here a little bit. This was kind of a bit of a janky part of the base. Everything was a little all over the place with this section. We had natural gas being made here, but then also kind of coming out into this area and then ending up in our Dreco farm. And then there was also chlorine in the mix and carbon dioxide and oxygen and all kinds of stuff. And so between episodes, I've gone ahead and I've moved the atmosphere checkpoint back by one. It used to be here, now it's back over here. To allow our duplicates to come down this ladder, I've put in 2 water locks, one here for the natural gas room here with the fertilizer synthesizers, and one here to allow duplicates get out and into the rest of the world. And hopefully this will stop the gases moving around quite so much. No longer should any of the natural gas make its way into the Dreco farm, which thankfully is quite a nice balance here. I didn't do any work with the gases in this room, but it seems to have found a pretty nice equilibrium between hydrogen in the top and oxygen in the bottom, which is fantastic. These doors here are both locked now, so no duplicate can run through here and then come back out this way, even if they wanted to. But getting back over to the power plant here, I think what I'm going to have them do going forward is probably go through this water lock here and then across and up to get into the power plant, just because I think it's going to be sensible for our duplicates to be wearing Atmos suits, especially if they're going to be entering a room which at most hits almost 100 degrees Celsius, but even at the cool end is still climbing close to 50 degrees Celsius. And so going forward here, this room is almost certainly only going to get hotter. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to dig out probably this area here, and then almost certainly this area here, and then just have them dig up and through the floor here to get into the power plant. And speaking of the power plant, I do want to do a little bit of reworking of this power plant, because people in the comment section did point out that if we get a second smart battery, we can actually set this up in such a way that the power network only ever uses the coal generators if we are low on power, like if we actually need them. Because right now the way the system works is if all of the generators have their required fuel in them, they will all work all the time as soon as the smart battery here falls below 20%. All the generators will kick online and they'll all start producing power, but I don't actually think that we need all of them online all of the time. And because we've got an infinite amount of natural gas and a finite amount of coal, kind of a finite amount, we are making it with the hatches, but we've got a less infinite amount of coal, it makes more sense to use the natural gas generators first and then fall back on the coal generators if we need to. And so what I'm thinking of doing here is almost certainly getting rid of the hydrogen generator. I think for now I'm quite happy with this hydrogen generator over here. Originally I was planning on getting rid of this, but right now it's connected to the power network in the same way that every other generator is. It's connected through a smart battery with some automation on it, and so I'm fairly happy here for all of this hydrogen to just pump into the hydrogen generator and get used up there. And then over on this end, that's going to free up a little bit of space for us to move the power control station. So what I'm thinking of doing is, first things first, let me go ahead and set up a bit of a walkway so that our duplicates can actually get over to this new area. They should be able to do it actually already with this ladder. And so if we just go ahead and do something like this, they then should be able to dig up, and we'll get rid of this tile for now so they can actually get into the power plant through the atmosphere checkpoint here. But essentially what I'm thinking of doing is getting rid of the hydrogen generator. We'll deconstruct that and then moving this wall here back to encompass both of these natural gas generators, at which point I'm going to move the power control station over and into the room with the natural gas generators so that our duplicants will tune those generators up, because right now I notice that they come in and they tune up the coal generators, but ideally we don't really want the coal generators being used. What we really want is for our natural gas generators to both be tuned up and producing 1.2 kilowatts of power each, and then using almost solely that power unless we really need it, at which point we then fall back on our coal generators. That's the plan. I'm also going to put in a second battery here, and essentially the way this is going to work is we're going to have one smart battery that's connected to the coal generators, and then a second smart battery that is connected to the natural gas generators, and the smart battery that's connected to the natural gas generators is going to have a higher threshold, so it's going to come online with a higher amount of power, and the coal generators are going to come online with a lower amount of power. I'll show you what I mean. Hopefully that makes at least some semblance of sense. But if we delete the power plant here, and if we go ahead and schedule the deletion of these rooms as well, we don't need the heavy watt wire. I was contemplating leaving that in there, the heavy watt joint plate that is, but for now I'll go ahead and I will delete that. And so essentially, over on the end here, we're going to put down a second smart battery right about here. We're going to connect that up, of course, as always, with some heavy watt wire like so. And then on this side, we're going to move the power control station to right about here. But to do that, we do have to get rid of some of this crown molding at the top of the base. Hopefully they can reach that. I think that is definitely reachable. It is good stuff. So we'll throw down the power control station right about there. We're then going to build the wall probably right about here. It can overlap a little bit with the power control station, which is good. It means we've got a little bit of extra space to work with here. Again, we are going to have to delete the crowning there, which is going to bring the decor of this room down just a little bit. But to be fair, the decor in this room wasn't great to begin with. Now that I've built that, I'm going to have to delete that because we do need a door here. And we're also going to have to put in a heavy watt joint plate right about there to connect both of those back up. But if we do something like this, that should create a power control room in here. And I'm also thinking about potentially putting a Wheeze-Watt in this room as well, just to try and slightly mitigate some of the like super high temperatures that we're seeing in here, and maybe try and keep the natural gas generators below their overheat temperature. They are made of gold amalgam, and so they can get quite hot, but they still do overheat at a certain point. And just a second ago, these were up at around 115 degrees Celsius, and so they were climbing quite close to that 125 degree limit that they currently have. So I will go ahead and delete this ladder here. I don't think we need to get down into this bottom area, and we'll replace that with a farm tile in just a second here. Heavy watt wire wise, we're going to go up and over because I believe, yeah, this is fine. We'll just reconnect right about there. It's a little janky, but it should work out just fine. And then essentially what we're going to do is using the automation wire, we're going to go down in the floor and then connect up over like this. I don't think that we need the power control unit to be connected, so I'm going to delete some of this heavy watt wire here. And then the plan is for this smart battery to go offline when the power hits 99%. So as soon as the power is essentially full, then these generators here are going to go offline. And then if this battery falls below, let's say 50%, then we want the natural gas generators to kick back into gear and to start filling the battery up again. Now, this battery, what we're going to do is we're going to say that if the power falls below, let's say 10%, then we want the coal generators to come online. And so by doing this, and we'll also say the coal generators can go offline when the power hits 50%. And so doing this, what's going to happen is these are only going to come online when the power gets really low. So only when the network is pulling more power than these two natural gas generators can provide, because only at that point is it ever going to get below 50%. And then even if these do come online, if the power gets above 50% again, they're going to shut down again and allow the natural gas generators to take over and keep providing power until once again the power falls below that 10% threshold. And so doing it this way should, in theory, allow us to build up quite a stockpile of coal from our hatches to potentially prepare for some point in the future where maybe our natural gas generators don't work, or maybe we just need a nice influx of power and we can rely on having the resources available to us to actually get these coal generators back online. Now, apparently, we do not have enough iron for this because all of those little notifications there did pop up right around the same time. So let's try this again here. We want to make the power control station preferably out of iron. So I will go ahead and schedule some iron here. I guess we'll make it out of copper this time. We probably do want to go and try and find some more iron on the map. there is some up here, and so I will go ahead and schedule a dig here, because I think iron is definitely something we are going to need in today's episode, because another thing that I do want to try and do in today's episode is try and make our first bits of steel, so that hopefully we can make some machines that can withstand slightly higher temperatures than gold amalgam can at the moment. So we'll get that working in the background here. In the meantime, let's see if we've got what it takes to make these with gold. Heavy wrought joint plate, like so. Hopefully this is good. Yeah, this is scheduled to be built with copper ore. That is fine. And then once again, if we've got what it takes, I would love to get some automation here. We don't, so we are going to have to wait for somebody to get the rock crusher going, but the rock crusher is not going to go until somebody builds this heavy wrought wire. So real quick, can we get like a priority 9 build on the heavy wrought wire here to try and get the system back online? While they wait for that, the main thing that I want to work on in today's episode, after we get this power control station and power plant up and running again, is I would like to try once again to try and get our base to be cooler. I mentioned it a little bit in the last episode, but right now I think one of the big things that's kind of holding us back, that's working against us when it comes to cooling our base, is our water supply, because all of the water in all of the pipes is currently around 30 to 35 degrees Celsius, depending on whereabouts in the base it is. You can see some of it here is even creeping up to like 37 degrees Celsius, which is crazy hot considering we really want the base, the core of the base at least, preferably to be below 20 degrees Celsius. So what I would like to do is try and cool down all of the water before it gets into our base. And so ideally to do that, we would get ourselves another thermo aqua tuner. Now, eventually I do plan on setting up another system kind of like this one, but intended to cool the base down, because using the steam turbines here, you can delete quite a large amount of heat from the game, because the steam that you pump into the steam turbines can be up to 200 degrees Celsius, at least at peak efficiency. I think you can pump it in hotter, but you don't get any extra power from it. But you can pump it in at up to 200 degrees Celsius, and the water that comes out of it is only 95 degrees Celsius. And so even though the steam turbine itself does also output heat, it doesn't output anywhere near as much heat as it deletes. And so in the future, what we'll probably do is set up a couple of thermo aqua tuners with 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 or 4 steam turbines to heat up a bunch of steam, delete that heat in water, and then pump that and cycle it back around, so that the water that is generated by the steam turbines is then heated back up, turned back into steam, pumped back through the steam turbine, and on a loop like that, and we can use that to essentially delete large amounts of heat from the base. However, to set up a system like that, we probably would need quite a large amount of power to begin with, simply due to the fact that the thermo aqua tuners require such a large amount of power to run. And so what I'm thinking of doing for today's episode is essentially just setting up a thermo aqua tuner on its own without a steam turbine, and using that to cool down some of the water from our water sieve and from our liquid reservoir here, and then hopefully bring it down to around 20 degrees before it gets pumped back around into the base, hopefully therefore cooling the base down just a little bit from its current, you know, rather toasty 35 degrees Celsius. So that's the plan. We'll get back to that in just a second here. I would really like if this was built. Apparently it is an unreachable build. I actually don't know how they managed to get here previously, because this is definitely not reachable. Oh, it's because the power's out. Oh my goodness, this is like a catch-22 here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up this room temporarily. The temperature in here has dropped significantly since these have been offline, and so for now they should be able to come in and get this work done. But realistically, going forward, the room will get that hot again, and so I really do want to make sure they can come through here if possible. But we were kind of in a catch-22 there, where they couldn't get in there because the power was offline, and they couldn't get the power back online because they couldn't get through here. So now that that's all good, they can hopefully get this fixed. They can hopefully build the smart battery. We should now hopefully have the automation wire required. We do. So let's go ahead and build something like this. And we'll also do it like this. We'll delete this wire because we don't need it. And of course, we'll put down our power control station again like so. And hopefully they'll get that built fairly quickly here, and they can also get down and dig this out now as well, which is good. That is going to mean that our coal generators never produce more than 600 watts now going forward, but as I mentioned before, we really don't want these to be online where possible. We really want this to kind of be a last resort for our base power-wise. Now, right now, these generators are currently offline, and I actually don't know why they're offline, but we can go ahead and throw down our farm tile here. I think we do have 1, maybe 2 Wheezewort in storage. Let me check real quick. We have got 1 Wheezewort in storage right now, which is fine. I did go ahead and replant some of these Wheezeworts up in here between episodes because once again, the temperature had gotten so high that they weren't growing. In response to that, I did lower the temperature on the thermosensor here, I brought it down to 20 degrees Celsius because I noticed that even if the thermosensor was at, say, 28 degrees Celsius, that doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of the room is anywhere close to 28 degrees Celsius. And in fact, some of this bottom area here was still quite high in the early to mid 30s. And again, I think that's mostly due to the fact that a lot of the hot water that's coming in from, down here and from our water sieve is right now going kind of directly up and to this area of the base. This is the area of the base that uses the most water right now. The rest of the base uses water quite slowly. All of these bathrooms here don't really use water all that fast. And so really right now, all of this water is doing is kind of sitting around and slowly bringing the temperature of the base up to the temperature of the water, which is not ideal. So we're going to try and cool that water down in just a second here. This guy is back online, which is good. This guy has a pipe blocked, which makes sense actually real quick. We'll go ahead and do something like that to get that back online. We might have a problem here with carbon dioxide, although I don't think that should be a problem. We do have a carbon skimmer down here ready to collect that as and when that is needed. We are going to go ahead and select all for the power station there. I'm also going to set that to a priority 8 because where possible, I would very much so like someone to come and tune up our generators. I'm going to go ahead and close this door as soon as Nicola leaves here. Gonna lock it off so no one can come in and no one can go out. So hopefully they'll come this way if they need to get over here in the future. That is going to increase their travel time, but I think that's fine. I think it's worth not having our duplicates die over it. We also do need to reinstate this pipe right here. And ideally, we would also not have this gap here be where a coal generator is. And so I think for now, I'm going to leave this as it is. I'm just going to go ahead and enable this building so that these two generators will be essentially the ones that do all of the work. But going forward, I think I'll delete one of these statues and have the ladder be like over by one so they can actually get in and use all three of the coal generators. Now, hopefully we're going to see this in action here. So we can see the coal generator has gone offline. The power is just staying above 50%. It's kind of holding steady ever so slightly. If we can get this tuned up to 1.2 kilowatts, it should stay even. It should actually go up and should reach the point where the generators are turned off. But the coal generator won't come back online until it gets very low on power here. So hopefully in the long run, we can save a nice amount of coal that way. But back over to the thermo aqua tuner and back over to cooling down our base. So as I mentioned before, I would like to get a thermo nullifier up and running to cool down the water coming from our water sieve and coming from our liquid reservoir. And to do that and to not have the thermo aqua tuner overheat, I think we should make our thermo aqua tuner out of steel. Steel is made up here with the metal refinery. We can see here we can turn iron into steel. They have dug out this iron here, which is good. And to make steel, we need 70 kilograms of iron, 20 kilograms of refined carbon, and 10 kilograms of lime per 100 kilograms of steel. And if we're going to go ahead and make ourselves a thermo aqua tuner, we need, I think it's like 1,200 kilograms of steel. We need 1,200 kilograms of steel. But if we do it, then I believe we get an overheat temperature of something like 350 degrees Celsius, significantly higher than the 175 degrees Celsius that you get from gold amalgam, which is definitely going to be needed if we're not going to be dispersing the heat like we are in here with the oil and the temp shift plates and the cool steam that's being pumped out. And so to get this, we need refined carbon and lime. Those are the two things that we don't have enough of, at least not just yet. Refined carbon is made over here in this kiln that we threw down a few episodes back. It's fairly easy to make. It's just coal in the kiln. And so we'll go ahead and we'll schedule quite a bit of that. Let me run the numbers real quick. How much refined carbon do I need? We get 100 kilograms a time of steel, so we need 12 lots of this, which means we need 240 kilograms of refined carbon. So we actually don't even need that much. I'll go ahead and schedule 300 kilograms just to be on the safe side. And then I believe lime is created in the rock crusher. It is. You can either use eggshell or fossil. Eggshell is, as it sounds, it's made from the eggs, which we have quite a few of actually. We've got 196 kilograms of eggshells because we have cracked quite a few eggs in our day, all of the hatch eggs that we've been working with. You can also make it from fossil. You can see we've got 750 kilograms of fossil. I believe we got that from all the way down here. Yep, you can see right here there was some fossil cutting across the oil area that we dug out earlier. So I will use fossil for now just because we've got so much of it and just because we can go mine more if we need it, even though I don't really think that we're going to need the eggshell that much going forward. But again, we don't need that much lime here. I think it's 10 kilograms per 100 kilograms. And so actually, I guess we do need quite a bit of it here because you only get 5 kilograms a time. And so we are going to need, what, 24 of these to get that going there? That's going to get us 120 kilograms, which will get us the 1,200 kilograms of steel. So we do need quite a bit of lime there. And hopefully that is done fairly soon. I will cancel the copper off for the time being so our duplicates can focus on the lime. And while they're doing that, oh my goodness, this is filled up with chlorine real quick. I assume that's because the carbon dioxide that was in here has slowly kind of fallen down. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. There's no real reason for it not to be chlorine. Like, it doesn't really matter right now. And that is another benefit, actually, of having our duplicates wear the Atmos suits when they come in here, because, as I mentioned previously, when they would come in, they would start to tune up a generator and then have to leave to catch their breath and then come back down. A few episodes back, I did hook up this air vent with oxygen. Between episodes, I did disconnect that. You'll see right now, both this pipe and this pipe have been disconnected because we were kind of on the brink of not having enough oxygen in the base at all. You may remember a few episodes back, the carbon dioxide and chlorine was kind of all the way up here, right above the starting portal, and there was only a very small amount of oxygen in the center of the base. And that's because if we look at the oxygen pipeline that comes from our electrolyzer, it comes over to here. Half of it goes down into these Atmos suits here to fill up. And so half of the oxygen was being diverted away at this intersection here. The oxygen then goes along. And when this was connected up, the half of the oxygen again was cut out over here. And then it continues on up here. And then another half was cut off over here. And so the amount of oxygen that we were actually sending to the core of the base was very, very small in comparison to how much oxygen we actually needed. Because bear in mind, we're only just about producing enough oxygen to keep all of our duplicants going. And so really we do need pretty much all of that oxygen being sent to the core of the base where our duplicants spend most of their time. And so between episodes, I cut off a few pipelines and now everything is looking much healthier. There is a nice supply of oxygen throughout the base, which is fantastic. But that does mean that there is no longer oxygen being sent over here. But again, now that we have the Atmos suits, that shouldn't matter. They should be able to get in here. But that shouldn't be a problem. They should still be able to get in here and work with these generators just fine. Speaking of which, these are now tuned up to 1.2 watts, which is nice, 1.2 kilowatts. And so you can see the smart batteries are at work. The coal generators not being used at all, which is fantastic. These should get shut off whenever the batteries get full. They do fill up at the same time, which is quite nice. At first, I thought they might fill up in series, so this battery might fill up before this one does, but that's not the case. They all fill up simultaneously, which is fantastic. And so whilst we wait for the requirements for the seal to be made, let's have a think about where we're going to put our thermal aqua tuner and how we're going to get the water and the power to it. So ideally, I don't really want the water to have to go too far away from the base, but simultaneously, we do also not want to go too far away from our power area because we don't want to run too much heavy watt wire all over the place. And so I'm thinking about actually maybe putting it like right here. It's a bit of a weird place to put it, but the water is kind of centralized here. This pipe going to the right doesn't do anything right now, so we can actually delete this pipe here and thus kind of everything going back this way. I actually think right now what we might be doing is circling our water back around, which was definitely not intended, but you can see how the water could come out here, end back up in the filter, and then back up in the reservoir. So we'll get rid of that because we really only want the polluted water going to this filter here. So the water from the reservoir coming out this way, and the water from the filter is coming out this way. So if we also delete this water pipe as well, then we can pull the water from both of these sources down kind of from anywhere on this pipe here. And so I think I might actually go ahead and put it like right here. I think that should be fine. We can always surround it with a little bit of insulated tile if needs be. So the hardest part is going to be getting the heavy watt wire over here, I think. Now, that shouldn't really be too difficult. I think it's mostly going to be the case of just putting a heavy watt joint plate right about there and then running the heavy watt wire kind of along and across over to here without... It's going to be annoying trying to cross through the conductive wire here. What I might have to do is put down a couple of conductive wire bridges. Although, you know what? No, I think instead what I might do is I might put it like right here. This is very temporary, by the way. Again, I do intend to set up a more robust kind of steam turbine aqua tuner setup in the future. For now, I just really want to get the base temperature under control. And so although it's going to require a little bit more piping to get the water from over here to over here, I think I will go ahead and put it like right here. That way we can just run this down and across like this, and then potentially just get rid of that ladder, and everything should be okay. We actually don't need that ladder to go all the way up anyway. So yeah, we'll do something like that. We'll put our thermal aqua tuner right about here. I think I will put down a couple of temp shift plates just to try and get rid of some of the heat away from the thermal aqua tuner. And the thermal aqua tuner that's going to be placed down here is not going to be anywhere near as hot as the one up here, because once its kind of initial startup has been taken care of, we actually don't use that much water in the base, and so the thermal aqua tuner will actually only be on when water is requested. So when, you know, one of these farm tiles here eventually runs out of water, it'll request 20 kilograms, at which point the aqua tuner will come on for a brief period of time, cooling down a little bit of water and sending it on up. And so for the most part, the aqua tuner that we're going to set up here, I think will be offline quite a bit of the time. And so with it being made of steel and with its overheat temperature being over 300 degrees Celsius, I don't think that we're going to run into to any issues here. So I will throw down a few ladders here, again, just so our duplicants can get up and build this heavy watt wire. How are we doing on the kiln, that is done. How are we doing on the rock crusher? That is not quite done. I'm going to bump the priority of this up to 9 so that hopefully we can get that taken care of. I am a little concerned that the metal refinery might not work, although I think there is enough space in the pipe here, and hopefully will continue to be enough space in the pipe for us to pump in some of the hot water out of the metal refinery and make enough steel to get this going. And again, whilst we wait for the rest of the lime here, another thing that we do need to take care of in regards to temperature is moving some of the hot machines out of the core of the base, right? Again, it's kind of actively working against what we're trying to do to have machines like the gas range and the electric grill and the rock crusher, and even to an extent the research machine and the supercomputer in the core of the base. They're right at the heart of our base right now, and they're definitely increasing the heat of the base overall. And so essentially what I am thinking of doing here is setting up another floor above our bristle blossom farms here, which are having a bit of an issue with irrigation right now. Oh, it's because I disconnected the pipe, of course. Real quick, I'm going to reconnect that pipe just because we do want everything to continue to function whilst we try and get that online. We'll delete that once we've actually got everything going here. I will also go ahead and schedule a mop of this floor so that our duplicates don't get too soggy. So up here, we are going to have a bit of a gap between floors because of the fact that we've got this insulated tile here, and I think I might even go ahead and put a heavy wrought joint plate there at some point. But for now, if we do something like this and we do something like this, the whole room I don't think doesn't need to be made out of insulated tile, but really we do want to stop that heat from kind of coming down into the base. But if we dig this area here out like so, what we can then do is we can then move essentially everything that's in here up to this floor. That is going to reduce travel time a little bit, bringing Bristle Blossom up to the cooking room, but that is also going to increase travel time, bringing things back down to the Great Hall. And so it's good and bad, but I think for the most part, getting the heat out of the core of our base is going to be good overall. Definitely considering this area is already quite hot already, so pushing more heat into this area of the world is a bit better than pushing it into the core of our base here. So under food, we're going to go with the gas range once again. We'll try and keep it in line with where it is now, like so. The electric grill, same idea. We'll try and keep that in line as well, as the fridge can go like right about there. And you know what? We'll even go ahead and throw down the same furniture, just so that our duplicates don't have too much of a shock when they've got to move over to the new room. We'll throw down a sculpture right about there. And we could probably do with doing something about the decor here. It's not too bad. Our duplicates don't spend too much time in this area, but the decor is very low thanks to the heavy wrought wire here. It's possible that some wallpapering covering this up could help a little bit, but I really think we just need kind of just more artwork and more decor in this area in general. We could also potentially just fill this tile in and maybe have like a door here. If we delete the ladder here and here and we put insulated tile here and here, that is going to make our fire pole not usable from this upper area, but we can go ahead and throw like a pneumatic door right about there and there. And that should hopefully prevent some of that negative decor from flooding through to this lower area here. And it's also going to help a little bit with the heat transfer from this room down into the core of the base. So we'll see how that works. We'll throw in a pneumatic door as well, of course. And we are going to have to put in another gas reservoir up here. Obviously, eventually the idea is to get rid of this gas reservoir, but right now it is full of natural gas. And so for the time being, what I think we will do is go ahead and run this pipe, I guess, up through here. We are going to have to put a bridge of some sort in so we can actually get over the pre-existing gas pipes that are already here. And again, this might be somewhat counterintuitive to what we're trying to do here, and this might end up increasing the temperature of the room a little bit, but I feel like it's kind of a necessary evil at the moment. We do need to get the natural gas up to here to keep our duplicates fed and whatnot. So we'll do something like that. We'll of course hook this up like so. All of these do need power. I think temporarily I might just hook them up to this line here, because already this transformer is not doing a ton of work. We've got 240 watts here and then another 480 here. Actually, maybe it is doing a fair bit of work. In that case, what I might do is just set up another transformer on this floor. It's going to be a bit janky to dig out, but if we do something like this and we just have our duplicates delete that and dig out here for the time being, they should be able to get up and down across here. And if we have them dig this area out, we can put another transformer in there and give this room its own power line, which is going to be especially useful if we move the rock crusher up. I'm thinking of putting the rock crusher pretty much directly opposite this, so I have like another room on this side of the base and put the rock crusher up there, because again, this thing does output quite a large amount of heat when it is running. But speaking of the rock crusher, it is now done. We've got all of the lime that we need, and so up here we should be able to schedule 12 steel if only we had some iron. Oh, do we need actual refined iron? Oh, we do. So we're going to need, what, 70 times 12? So like 840 kilograms of refined iron? Oofed. Okay, so actually, I guess we might as well do that up in the metal refinery, right? There's no reason not to do that up here. We actually get more from it. So let's go ahead and schedule 800 iron. Or I guess, well, we'll schedule 1,000 iron. I guess we've got 12.8 tons. So that shouldn't be a problem. But we'll schedule that. We'll set this to priority 9 for the time being. Hopefully someone will come up and take care of that. It might get blocked up a little bit because, of course, there is only so much space in this loop here. And while the aqua tuner is not running, the water is going to get blocked up slightly. But hopefully it doesn't take them too long, and hopefully it's faster than using the rock crusher would be. So yeah, you can see that's pumping the water out to here. And actually, I guess the water does look like it's being pumped out back over to here. This could be a problem, although no, the cool water that comes out of the system is going to the refinery first, so this is fine. The water from the refinery does try to go in here, but if it can't, it goes down and joins the rest of the water in this reservoir to be used in the electrolyzer, and then the water that comes out of here that's cold tries to go into the metal refinery, and if it can't, goes through and connects up with the reservoir as well. And so I think this is actually set up perfectly to create iron for us where possible. So that is fantastic. We'll let them continue working over there. Let's go ahead and schedule the deletion of that. Let's also go ahead and schedule infinite stuffed berries, as well as infinite gristleberries, as well as storing bristleberries, gristleberries, and stuffed berries in the fridge there. Did we get a decor boost here? Not really. I guess that's not how that works. It still has a 6-tower radius, whether or not there is stuff in the way. Either way, I think this works well for kind of separating off and marking off what is essentially the top of the base for all intents and purposes. So let's go ahead and throw down like a few more pieces of furniture here. We'll throw down like some, maybe some small sculpting blocks, like here and here. And then maybe like 2 plant pots in the middle there. That's like a lot of decor in one place, but I think it works. And then maybe even throw down like one of those wide paintings on this floor. Annoyingly, it's not quite wide enough, so maybe a portrait canvas? Sure, we actually don't have any of those around the base yet, so I'll throw one of those down there, and that'll hopefully help to offset some of that. Our duplicates are suffocating. How in the world did you get up there? I guess they built like 1 or 2 of these tiles first, jumped in. Someone died! Nicola! What? No! He was too young! What the heck? Oh my goodness, please, top priority, please get our duplicates out of here. Nobody else can die. Oh my goodness. That's what you get for playing on speed 3. What the, oh my. Well, I think we're definitely going to get some stress here from Mourning. I also don't think they're going to like seeing him there. Flippin' heck, we did so well, 408 cycles, and no one died. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe someone died there. Well, it's about time we get a tasteful memorial out, I guess, in that case. We'll put this down, I guess, somewhere in the base, like maybe here. I would like it to be centralized where possible. We could put it here, but I think it needs to be somewhere, you know, close to the center of the base. I think Nicola was even our most recent duplicant, right? Like, I think he was the newest member of the family. So we'll throw down a tasteful memorial there. They'll move Nicola. I cannot believe he happened so fast. Not to be insensitive, but let's also throw down this transformer here. I think right about, just wait for the save. There it is. Right about there. We are definitely going to need another heavy wrought wire bridge, like right there. But that's very doable. Gosh dang it. Well, he'll be forever remembered in this grave here. Mimar is Mourning, which is going to give it the negative debuff there. Stress plus 20% per cycle. I think we do have enough stress relieving things around the base to where hopefully that extra 20% doesn't affect us too much. Maybe. For now, I'll just run this up like this. I don't think that's too big of a deal, and then we'll just hook that up like that. And then as soon as I've actually got that up and running, we can actually start to delete these machines down here. Like all of those. I'll leave the statue and I'll leave the reservoir for the time being. Oh, look at that. I've not seen the artwork for the portraits yet. That's quite cool. I like it. How's the decor doing? There we go. That's more like it. Plus 64. Not quite near the, you know, plus 120 max decor that you can have, that we have in the bedrooms over here, but still much, much better than the negative 325 that they get as soon as they leave the door here. We could also maybe do with putting more in this room. Specifically, we can put down the landscape again that we had a minute ago. And I guess actually we might as well put like 2 in there now. We really want to try and get the decor in this room up as much as possible. It's quite low right now. And we could potentially even fit in like 2 small sculptures like here and here. That's some densely packed stress relief right there, but I think it will work. And we might as well go ahead and throw a door on the back end there as well like that. So there we go. We moved the heat out of the room. It did cost us quite a bit. All things considered, it cost us Nicola. That does mean that we are in the market for another duplicate. I feel like maybe we should hold off for a couple of cycles. Ooh, 12,000 kilocalories worth of barbecue. I will take it. Probably should hold off for a couple of cycles, let our duplicates mourn the loss of Nicola first, but then we'll look into getting our 8th duplicate back up and running again. And so I think now, guys, I'm really just in the business of waiting for the iron to be made, and then after that, waiting for the 12 lots of steel to be made. They are still awaiting materials here. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure we do have enough iron to make this work, right? Yeah, we've got 12 tons of iron, and so they should definitely be able to get that done. And so I'm going to go away. I'm going to wait for all of this iron to be produced. I'll also go ahead and produce all the steel. I'll be back when we can make our thermal aqua tuner. Okay, so many cycles later, and it turns out that the system that we had in place previously for the metal refinery worked, but was very slow, because this thing takes quite a lot of coolant, and when the water comes out of here, some of it does go into the cooling loop and get cooled down and then sent back around into the refinery, but a lot of it goes out the hot pipe because there's no space in the cooling loop, and then it takes quite a while for there to be enough water pumped back in to get the refinery to work again. And so what I've done is I've gone ahead and set up another pipe that kind of just connects on to the pipe already coming to this bathroom here, and then runs all the way up parallel to the hot pipe that's going down, and then comes in and kind of acts as an auxiliary source of water to keep the metal refinery full of coolant. Essentially, this water is just coming in, getting heated up, and then going back down and headed towards the electrolyzer, which is fine for the time being, and I think it's going to be fine going forward as well. It doesn't really affect this system at all. It kind of just comes in and then gets sent back around. We finally have somewhere to put the hot water, which I guess is good. It's going to the electrolyzer, which needs water, and if it's hot, it doesn't matter because it gets cooled down when it goes through our anti-entropy thermonullifier anyway. But nevertheless, we now have the 1200 iron required for the aqua tuner here, and so where was I going to put this? I was going to put this right about here, where our heavy watt wire is. So we'll go ahead and we'll hook up the heavy watt wire like so, and then essentially my plan here is to bring all of the water from these 2 sources together down across and over to here, which is quite the distance, but then we're going to have all the water from here go out. We'll have it go up, across. I think for now we'll just go like up like this. Of course, we want to go over this pipe, and I think we'll just connect it up probably right about here. Not, oh my goodness, that is not right at all. What I meant to do was something like this, and then I guess for now, something like this. You know what? No, we'll make it a little bit more decor friendly, and we'll have it go through the wall like that. Yeah, that is much nicer. So we'll do it like that. That will connect up here, and that should be able to send water up the left side here, but that's not going to be able to send water up the right side. So what we might have to do is also have something that looks a little bit like this. Oh, it's going to be a little janky because we need water to go. You know what? Actually, cancel this. We'll have it all go across this way. We'll have it kind of hook back up here. None of the water is needed on this side, and so we'll simply just have it go across another liquid bridge like this. This? Sure, like this. Again, a little bit janky, but it should work, and then we'll connect it back up like so. We will, of course, go ahead and delete one of these tiles here. We'll set that to like a priority 9 deletion, and then all the water that comes from the sieve and from our reservoirs is going to go down, and it's going to connect up over here. That's quite the distance that has to go, but I think it should definitely be doable. I don't think we can build here without having like a lot of ladder going up. And so getting it out might actually be even more janky than getting it in, because there are just so many pipes already in the way. I think what we'll do is we'll have it go across here, and then across here, and then down this way. So like this, and then down like this. It is very janky and far from ideal, but I think it should do the trick. So we'll have it run down, and then where's our aqua tuner? It's over there. So this wire is not needed. We can delete this wire here. This pipe's not needed. We can delete this pipe here, and then we can just have that go across pretty much directly over and into there. Like I said, not the cleanest pipe in the world, and I might change that in the future to make that look just a little bit nicer. But for now, we'll delete all these pipes, we'll get all this built, and that should begin to cool down massively the base just through having a little bit of power used in our thermal aqua tuner. Again, it does use a lot of power if it's on all the time, but it shouldn't be due to the fact that we're not using really that much water. Definitely not as much as the aqua tuner can process. I will throw down a couple of temp shift plates. We'll make these out of probably iron ore because we've got quite a bit of it. And I'll throw these down like so, just to try and dissipate some of that heat to the air around it. I did forget that we have airflow tiles at the top of our power plant, and so both chlorine and a lot of polluted oxygen made its way into our base here. I did put down quite a few of these deodorizers kind of dotted around the base, so now there's a lot less polluted oxygen here, but there is also a fair bit of slime lung in the base. It is slowly dying off due to the fact that the regular oxygen is kind of killing it, and we're getting rid of the polluted oxygen, but a little bit of a slime lung problem that came about due to the fact that all of the polluted oxygen that was down here, obviously that made its way up because the carbon dioxide lowered itself down and the polluted oxygen finally had somewhere to go, so it's risen up into our base here. Not great, but up here, I've also done a little bit of testing and tweaking. I put in a light switch, and I completely forgot, by the way, that earlier in the series we had like these lights with the duplicate motion sensors. We've not been using those at all. Like our Great Hall here doesn't have any lights in it whatsoever. And so I thought about actually using these weighted pressure plates so that if our duplicates come and they stand to use either the grill or the gas range, that triggers the light to come on, and our duplicates work faster if there's a light on in the room, and it also adds to the decor as well. It's a pretty simple setup that I've got going here. I don't think I need this OR gate, but I have it. It might be necessary. Essentially, this tells the automation wire that if either of these are on, so this one or this one, then you can turn the light on. They don't both have to be on. Either one will trigger the light, and they'll come on either way. The light does cover both of these, and I've also put down a bunch of wallpaper made out of copper ore as well. It's got this nice kind of red color to it, which is pretty cool. How are we doing on the thermo aqua tuner? They're doing pretty well. The pipes are getting there slowly but surely. We do still have an unreachable build here. I'm hoping if I dig out some of this, why are you not wearing? Oh, he is wearing a suit. It's just got no oxygen in it. Okay, I did have to reconnect up my oxygen line here because a collateral of disconnecting this air vent was that these didn't have oxygen in them, so I've just disconnected it here. That does mean less oxygen going into the core of the base, but hopefully this will eventually back up and they'll have more oxygen going to the middle of the base again. For now, though, that does mean that Stinky is having a bit of a hard time breathing. I'm really hoping that if needs be, he will go back to breathe, although right now it looks like he maybe can't get back. So I will very quickly throw down some tile here as well, so our duplicates can actually get home if they need to. I think right now he cannot get back in because this door is locked. Oh no, he can get in through. Oh no, this is also locked. Yeah, no, I think he's gonna have a tough time here. I might go ahead and just open this up to duplicates for the time being, just so that if he needs to, yeah, he can go and, you know, breathe for a second. Yeah, that's good. Oh, stress vomiting. Oh my goodness, Stinky has managed to make his way all the way up to 100% stress. He's hungry, he's got a sore back. Oh my goodness, you need to get on the massage table, man. Okay, please, priority 9, mop this up. Flippin', today's episode has been an episode of firsts. We've had our first duplicate die, and we've also had our first duplicate hit 100% stress, and also have our first duplicate vomit, which also makes sense. Hopefully, he is still happy to go and eat, even though he is vomiting profusely. Please, man, go and... Can I put the massage table priority at like a priority 10? Stinky, go... get a massage. Like right now. You desperately need it. Okay, well his stress has dropped massively nonetheless. Maybe all that vomiting was useful for something. Apologies to Mima, who does have to now go and clean that up. But nevertheless, back down here. The thermal aqua tuner is online. The pipe is ready to go. We're just waiting on this pipe here being built, which apparently is unreachable. That's fine. We'll throw down like a couple of ladders here to get them up there. There we go. And so now the thermal aqua tuner is online. Did I specify made out of steel? I didn't. I'm going to delete this real quick. I would very much so like it if you would make this out of steel, because already you'll see it's overheating. It is hitting very, very high temperatures. I am very much so hoping that once they get these temp shift plates down, it doesn't get quite so hot. But steel and where's this actually going down? Is it going down here? Yes, I'm very much so hoping that these temp shift plates will do some good work and hopefully not like dissipate the heat enough to where this doesn't hit, 500 degrees Celsius. Again, it's very much so just a case of once this pipe gets backed up, which it will do, you'll see the whole base is kind of full of very stationary water for the most part. Once this all gets backed up, everything, it should cool down. It should be running significantly less often. But we are doing very well on food now. We're up to 166,000 kilocalories, 162,000 of which are the stuffed berries, which is very nice indeed. The generator's still being tuned up, which is good. Power seems to be doing okay for the time being, so we definitely do have the capacity to run this at least some of the time, right? Insufficient resources. Why? How do I have insufficient resources? I just specifically made 1,200 steel, and I can see right there I have 1,200 steel. I haven't accidentally made something here out of steel, have I? I don't think so. So hopefully they've got enough steel to make this happen. They do, nice. Okay, so that is now online. It has an overheat temperature of 325 degrees Celsius, and hopefully it doesn't hit that. It might hit that while this pipe is backing up, but as soon as this pipe here gets backed up, it should cool off. Now, the downside here is that if... Oh no, look at that. So now that we've thrown down the more temp shift plates, it seems to be holding steady. It is probably heating up the area around here quite rapidly. Yes, closing in on 50 degrees Celsius down here, but it's keeping the thermal aqua tuna cool, even though it's on constantly. Like, it's not even going off right now. So this should be fine. This shouldn't get anywhere near 325 degrees Celsius, even with non-stop running. But you'll see now it's backed up, it's stopped. It's only going to come online every so often like it's doing right now to provide those little bits of power, or those little bits of water even up to our bristle blossoms up here. And thankfully, the water in here is now at a cool 25 degrees Celsius. And actually, I think what I probably want to do is replace some of these with insulated pipe, specifically the ones that are down here where it's very hot. If we do something like this, and basically all the way up till it gets to probably right about here, maybe even to here as well, until it gets to the point where it's actually going into the base, at which point we can then have it, begin to dissipate some of that heat to the rest of the base here. Because although 25 is definitely a lot better than 35 or 37 as it was over here, 38, 39 as it is getting over on this side here. If we can get it even cooler than that, it's going to be great. I think the water that's coming in is coming out about 35, and so it'll be coming out of here around 20, 21. And so if we can get as much of that heat into the base as possible, that'd be great. So these bits of insulated pipe are definitely the ones that are going to be doing the most work going forward here. And again, we have created an unreachable build by building this little flooring here. But once we get that done, we should be getting much, much cooler water into the base. We're already getting much, much cooler water in the base anyway. And so hopefully that will decrease the rate at which the temperature in here increases, which in turn should decrease the amount of time that our thermoregulator is on, therefore using less power, and just keeping things online more of the time, making sure we always have enough food, which it looks like we definitely should now. Food seems to be a lot more sustainable than it was previously. The decor in this room is now nice and high. We're at the max 120 decor, which is fantastic, and everyone is even faster now than they were before, which is also great. The pinch peppers are still doing fine. We do want to keep an eye on this just in case this room gets too hot for the pinch peppers, although we'll see it before we check it. We'll notice that the pinch peppers have stopped growing if they do stop growing. And I think, guys, that is pretty much it. We've now got a new power plant, which is solely focused on our natural gas generators, which really should be the only thing providing us with power right now. We've got a bit of a water cooler setup down here, although it is a little bit janky and could be better in the future. We've got a better system in place for using the metal refinery, so it's now quicker and easier for us to refine metals if we need them, which is great. And so going forward, and even between episodes, I might go ahead and try, if there is, I'm fairly certain there's another cool steam vent up here. There's no reason, I don't think, why there would be so much cool water there. If there is a cool steam vent up here, I might go ahead and replicate this setup here between episodes. That would take quite a while, so I might not, but I might replicate this setup and try and get some more water out of here, because we are once again on the edge of losing, of not having enough water down here. I did break this bit whilst I was away, so that now there is more water down here, but we are gonna run out of this soon and do need more water for the core of the base. I think right now, yeah, we got this broken wire bridge. I will set that to like a priority 9 repair, so that hopefully someone will come and bring this back online. But right now, this is really the only source of water for our base, you'll notice that these two are both empty, and the water sieve is kind of just running off of the polluted water that's coming from that pond there. So as soon as that runs out, we are in a bit of a tricky situation when it comes to water. You'll see we're very almost out of polluted water, so we definitely need to get this pump back online, and we definitely need to look into other sources of water for the core of our base, and we can't use the stuff that's coming from up here. Speaking of which, this is now fully backed up, like our reservoirs here are full, so we should probably also look towards putting in some more liquid reservoirs. I guess we could delete these gas reservoirs here. These were previously for oxygen, and right now all of our oxygen does flow through here, but I guess we could just do this and then delete essentially all of this and both of these. Yeah, let's do that, and let's put down, you know, maybe 4 or 5 more liquid reservoirs, just because we really do need to have all of the water that comes from this cool steam vent stored and ready to go. Otherwise, we're not going to have enough water for our electrolyzer when this steam vent becomes dormant. So this is very much a top priority. There we go. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, this is fine. This pipe is also not needed, so I will delete as much of it as we can, really. And then we'll also delete this pipe all the way over to here. That is going to cause quite a bit of water to spill out on the ground there, but that is fine. And then, just like before, we will have this run from the input of one to the output of another. So we'll cancel deletion of those two, and then do something like this. And there we go. We've now got significantly more water storage, over double what we just had there. That should hopefully be enough to store all of the water for our electrolyzer. And with that, guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's episode of Oxygen Not Included there. The insulator tile is now down, and so the water is still at 21 degrees by the time it hits this area over here, which is fantastic. And slowly but surely, the water around the base is going to cool down. It is going to take quite a while for some of the water, like over here, that's at 37 degrees to cool down, just because it's being used so slowly by our lavatories and whatnot. They only use these rooms like once a day, if that, and even then they only use a small amount of water, so it will take a while to kind of circulate through and spread out across the base. But over time, we should hopefully see a cool down of the entirety of the base, bringing it a lot closer to the 21 degrees Celsius of the water. We moved our cooker out and whatnot now as well. We'll move the rock crusher out in the future to try and bring as much coolness to the core of the base as possible. But again, thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the video and you want to see more in the future, be sure to go ahead and hit that like button. It really does help out a lot. Leave a comment down below, subscribe if you're new here to get notified as soon as new videos come out. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.